I went to jail. Not jail. I went to
What?
I went to court.
Too late. Too
Dang,
late.
I was gonna say that was
You
serious.
just told us the truth.
I went to
Dr.
court.
King went to jail too. So
I went to court.
Yes, sir. What's going on, everyone? This is everybody's favorite cousin, DJ Will from Jacksonville, and you are in the field with the Trackstarz. Keep it locked. Yes, sir.
Yeah, back in the field with the Trackstarz. Ryan Wright, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah was good.
All right. Episode sponsored by True Strength Apparel. Make sure you go check out TrueStrengthApparel.com. Check out all the latest gears from the homie Aaron Simpkins. Follow us on Twitter at Trackstarz, Instagram at Trackstarz. Like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and join the Trackstarz universe. We want you to do that. Continue to send us your music submissions and your video submissions. Your one-stop shop, Trackstarz, all things.
You got one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so for this noteworthy, subject is unforgiven. So I'm a huge fan of your show, and I think you guys are very insightful and wise, and I really would like to hear about what you have to say. So last year, me and my friends from college went on a vacation, and while there, I got into a fight with one of them in my anger. And I said something that really hurt her feelings, and she didn't speak to me for the rest of the trip, and basically stopped talking to me and completely ignored me at our graduation. I've tried to apologize to her several times before, as I realized I hurt her throughout the trip, but didn't receive a response. Even my friend said the fight was dumb and she should have forgiven me and could move on. After a while, I tried to accept the fact that she'd never forgive, especially since she didn't forgive another close friend of ours. But she's not a Christian. So I've started feeling guilty again about what happened and wondered if I should try to reconcile with her again, knowing that she won't forgive, and we all moved back to our respective home. So I guess one of them's in Africa and the other's in Asia. So it's not like we're going to see each other soon. So my question is, should I try to ask her forgiveness or leave it? And if so, how to deal with not being forgiven by someone who you were once really close to?
What y'all think?
I've actually been through this, high school friends. But as time went on, you know, we realized that we were being silly and childish. And actually, it was one significant event that brought us back to talking again. It was the passing of a classmate.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, wow, like life is really short. She was 28, so that would have made me 30 at the time. And my friend would have been 30. And somebody on Facebook was like, yo, y'all need to reconnect and make sure that y'all, you know, don't let time go by anymore. And we all reconnected, got together with our kids and our families, and we had a barbecue. We just had a good time. And so it can be done. I mean, we didn't speak for 11 years, but it can definitely be done. And then I also have another friend where I did say something to offend him, and he didn't speak to me for, wow, his oldest is 13 now, so I guess it was probably about 7 years that he didn't speak to me. And it was because I made a comment about us doing something together, and I said something about me being able to do it first, so I should be the one to control the situation. Mm-hmm. And that really offended him because he was just like, you're talking down to me because I don't have a college education like you. Or I didn't go off and find my way into corporate America like you did. But now all of a sudden you're telling me that I can't do something because you gotten there first, and we should be able to go off of what you're doing as opposed to what I can do for myself. So it's the issue.
Forgiveness is interesting. I'm trying to think about this like the way the Bible talks about it, right? Why do you need to forgive? Why is that?
In order to be forgiven by God.
Why does God want us to do that?
Because there's freedom in it. There's freedom in forgiveness.
Okay. So here's the deal. Like in the Bible, it talks about forgiveness like debt, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody does something they sin against you, they say something mean or whatever, right? It's as if they owe you money, right? And forgiveness is basically saying, I forgive your debt. You no longer owe me the money that you owe me. You do owe me money, but I'm not going to make you pay it back anymore because I've been forgiven of my debt. So if I don't forgive you of yours, I won't be forgiven of mine. That was the story of the king and the whatever.
The unforgiven servant.
So what do if you actually wrong somebody? You actually have a debt with somebody, and they won't forgive it. How do you approach that? Because do you deserve to be forgiven? You see what I'm saying? It's almost like there's an assumption that you should just forgive me. For what? She's not a Christian. She has no reason to do it, right? You have a debt with this person that may not ever get cleared up. Isn't that kind of the truth? And you just have to deal with it?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I mean,
she's got to forgive herself.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the whole relationship of forgiveness and unforgiveness is you wrong somebody, they have something against you, and they decided not to clear your debt. You still have a debt.
I mean, and she can pray about it too. Like, she can pray and ask God to, allow this, the relationship to be reconciled, and to just give clarity to the situation. But I mean, there's not a whole lot I feel like she can do except just to like express that she's truly, she's truly apologetic about what happened. But yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying there? Like,
yeah.
It seems like there's an assumption, man, just forgive me, man. It's like, they don't have to.
I don't think she's saying it in that way of like, in a prideful
I'm talking about
way
her friends. Her friends were like, she should have
just
forgave you. She
forgiven
didn't
you.
forgive somebody else.
Well, I think people recognize that like, people like holding grudges is not like beneficial.
It's
you
not.
know,
It's
even
not.
if
Okay, it's
they're
not good for her,
Christians. Right.
but it's her choice.
It's her choice.
Right?
Yeah, it is her
You
choice.
can't force somebody to forgive you. So, I think we've gotten to a place where you've been taught forgiveness your entire life. You forgive everybody, but we've forgotten why, what the relationship is.
I think at the end of the day, sometimes people feel like if I don't forgive, I feel that weight. And I think he said freedom.
That's for the forgiver. I'm talking about the one who is wanting
Needs to
forgiveness.
be
Well, I
forgiven.
mean, it works
For
both
both,
ways.
yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah,
because
but if somebody refuses, what are you
To
supposed to
forgive
do
you.
about it?
They refuse to do what?
to forgive you.
Forgive you? Keep
That's what
moving.
she's talking
Like,
about.
okay, if I have a student loan debt, I would love for them to forgive my student loan debt, but they won't.
Yeah.
I've asked, right?
Please forgive me.
They won't do it. So
forgive
what
it.
am I supposed to do?
That's kind of different.
It
from,
isn't though. That's the way it is in the Bible. It's set up as you owe
debt.
somebody money. You legitimately owe it. It's not like they made up a story on you.
Like
they
a
didn't
hypothetical.
lie. You actually owe it. I went to school and they gave me money and I have to give it back.
Yeah.
I would love for them to forgive me of this debt, but they won't.
Yeah.
So what do I do in the meantime?
But in a sense, that like Jeremiah was saying, that doesn't necessarily work because if if you owe the school money and you're trying to pay them back, but they're refusing your money, then
Okay, that's a good analogy. Is asking for forgiveness paying it back? What's actually owed back?
No, I don't think so.
when
because
you
you
hurt
can't.
somebody.
because
can't take
if you try to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you can't take back what was said. You can't take away the pain. You can't like give healing. Like, you're not God. So yeah, I don't think there's any way that we as humans can like right the debt.
Right, and I mean, there's certain people that you can't reconcile with. They whether they don't want to do it because of you or because of their bitterness. You, like Miracle said, you got to keep moving because of the fact that if you don't forgive yourself, you'll lose sleep while they're not even caring about you. So,
That's right.
I mean, there's certain people that you just have to have that door open for when they come, like with Ryan, when they come back.
Yeah.
Eventually, whether it be, unfortunately, it was through death for you, but for some people, it may be, hey, mutual friends or an event where they meet back up. But you just keep that door open and you just humble yourself that when it comes to, look, I'm sorry, this is my fault, I'm gonna move past this. And if they choose not to, then you
What I'm trying to do, the reason I'm spending so much time on this is I'm trying to prevent weak apologies. I feel like a
Right.
lot of Christians
Oh,
give
that's real.
weak apologies.
Okay.
It's like,
that's true.
you ain't forgiving me for this? Like, they don't have to. There's no onus on them to have to forgive you. You are the one that messed up. So this attitude of I can't believe they didn't forgive me. I can't believe Sally Mae won't stop asking me for, like, you don't have to. So I
Well-
think a real apology says, I know I hurt you. I know I owe you for what I did to you.
It's a humble.
If you forgive me, that would be a blessing to me.
'Cause
It's
I
not
don't
expected.
deserve it. I don't deserve
Expected
it.
forgiveness is not a real apology.
yeah,
see what I'm saying?
that makes sense.
Can you forgive somebody without telling them you forgive them?
Yes.
And is it wrong for them not to believe that you forgive them, right? Because right now, my dad's wife does not know that I've forgiven her. She thinks that if I see her on the street, I'm gonna cross the street to find her. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't know I've forgiven her, even though I've said it in prayer and I've said it in confession. So is it wrong for me not to call her up and say, I forgive you for what you did when my father was transitioning? Or am I okay with just being able to let her keep thinking that the kids don't forgive me?
That's a hard question, but it's like the other side of it. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah, because
she's
not the one. She's the one that needs
forgiveness.
Yeah,
not
You're not
the forgiver.
The one. Right. So it's the flip of this.
Right,
scenario.
but is it wrong for me to let her feel guilty about what she did because she still thinks we have not forgiven her?
If you're doing it to punish her, yeah.
Well, I just haven't talked to her, and I don't have any plans to talk to her. So.
And that may be where. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, that may be where God wants to bring reconciliation, because if you have forgiven her, it's not to say that you have to be best friends or you have to be, all buddy, but God could use that to situation to bring reconciliation.
But again, we always talk about forgiveness from that point of view. This is an interesting question because it's on the other side, and I'm hearing a lot of commentary in the Periscope about this doesn't relate to debt. That is the exact example in the Bible.
Yeah,
the other
forgive
example
our debts
is
as we forgive those.
The other example is when you deserve to be put in jail. The judge doesn't have to forgive you. When you go before a judge and plead your case, you're saying, I did something wrong. I know I don't deserve to be forgiven, but I'm begging for forgiveness.
I think I'm confused.
This assumption of forgiveness is what I'm trying to get away from.
So she's saying her friend did something to her.
No. She did something to her friend. She said something that hurt her, and she's apologized. And her friends were saying it's really dumb that she hasn't forgiven you. And so they just kind of drifted apart. But she said she's starting to feel guilty again about it, and so she's wondering if she should pursue her and try and bring reconciliation, I guess, or just let it go.
I would pursue her and call and talk. And if she doesn't want to, then you just gotta let it go. Honestly, you do your part. Do the part that God has placed on your heart to do. And then when you do it, then that's when you get your clearance to go, okay.
Here's an example, another one. I got pulled over for the Georgia move over law, right? And let's just ignore the fact that I think it was bogus, right? But let's just say I did it. I actually did it, right? I went to jail. Not jail. I went to I went to court.
Too late.
Dang, I was going to say that was serious.
You just told us the truth.
I went to
Dr.
court.
King went to jail too. So
I went to court, right? And I went before the judge, and I had to tell him I did drive past the officer, but it wasn't exactly, but forget that part. That feeling of, I went up there and I was hoping, this is what I was hoping for. He would be like, oh, this is your first time. You never heard of that law before, blah, blah, blah. It's okay. That did not happen. He said, you're doing what? You did what now? All right, so that's $250. Next.
Yeah.
I was assuming this is a judge. He's supposed to be like God.
No, they're
Gracious.
horrible people.
Oh, no.
Forgives. God is a just judge. He forgives. And this man had no sympathy for me
None
whatsoever.
of the judges do.
And what I'm trying
to
say is that the assumption that somebody who has a debt against you or is rightfully punishing, right? You know what I mean? The assumption that they have to forgive is a strange one. Even for me in that situation, I thought that's how this works. I've been a Christian all my life. You do something wrong, God forgives you. But I think that's a twisting of what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
The expecting forgiveness is not real repentance.
Because David, when he, figured out that what he had done was wrong with Bathsheba, he was in lament. He was just in sorrow and continued to be in that state for a long time. So I think that element, I understand what you're saying, Sean, because I feel like that element isn't there. The being distraught and really
turning away from your sin, but being distraught that you hurt God.
But she sounds like that though.
But he had to have it called out of him.
Oh yeah,
by
that was
the prophet of the Lord. So it was almost like he was good when it wasn't necessarily exposed.
Here's a good example. Maybe that could help us in this situation. When David did what he did with Bathsheba, right?
Yeah.
And they had a child, and the punishment was that the child was supposed to die, right?
Yeah.
And David was crying and ashes on the head and all that. God, please forgive me. Don't punish me by taking away my child.
Yeah.
What happened? Does anybody remember? The child died.
Yeah.
Right?
I was
So
like,
he did not get forgiven. Right?
Yeah.
David did not get forgiven for that. Now he went on and he had Solomon and everything was fine. But he did not get forgiven immediately for that.
Yeah.
But does
sin.
that mean just because
So
you
what
had
did he
consequences?
do? What did he do? Right? He
Got up.
warned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got up and then he went on and tried to do better than
And
next
praise
time.
God, yeah.
So that may be the answer to this question. You messed up. This person didn't forgive you. You have to mourn it. You lost a friend.
Yeah.
Get up and go do better next time.
Yeah,
Isn't that
true.
the
The
answer?
difference, though, is that David presented God with the scenario he wanted to see happen, but it wasn't in God's plans to do that.
What do you mean?
He said, God, don't punish me by taking the child's life, right? That was him saying, God, don't do this, don't do that.
That was the punishment for his sin.
Right, but he raised that to God. You see what I'm saying? Like, he didn't necessarily just accept what God was going to do. He
saying-
tried to bring it up. Like, God, this is what I want you to do versus and
giving
God
God
was
an
saying,
ultimatum.
well, my will has already been the fate of this has already been decided since before you were born. So you're not changing my mind on this.
No. What?
What Ryan's saying is that in David's case, he was giving him an ultimatum, like, God, this is what you need to do in order for me to be forgiven. I need you to not do this.
Yeah.
That's what Ryan's trying to say.
But then he also said something about it was already chosen from the beginning of time that it was going to happen.
That it would be the fate of the
That's
child.
a whole other element.
No, that's a totally different element. The child died because he sinned.
Right,
Right,
that's what
right.
I'm saying. But you said that God didn't forgive him.
But that's
And
what
that was his
forgiveness
punishment.
means. Forgiveness means you don't have to pay the debt. The debt was the child. That was the payment for the sin.
But David also made the assumption that he could ask God
That's what I'm trying
not
to say.
do, and this person is doing the same
The
thing.
assumption is, God, I expect for you to forgive me if I get on my knees and I ask for forgiveness and I
Yeah.
say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't forgive him.
Yeah.
So
Somebody said that was the consequence of his sin.
that's what
But-
we're talking
but I
about.
was gonna say-
When you say something mean to your friend, the consequence could be that you lose a friend.
But
You were hoping that wouldn't happen. It happened anyway.
does the fact that David had to suffer the consequences mean that he wasn't forgiven?
It may have. That's why I said immediately forgiven.
Okay.
But again, that was the payment for that was what God
The
said. Because of
retribution.
this
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
The payment was made.
Right.
Now the rest of your life, that payment that was already paid for the sin. You see what I'm saying?
So then, are you saying with that friend, maybe that friend, even though she's not Christian, maybe she may forgive her friend, but their relationship will never be the same, and that's the consequence?
That could have been now. The friend had the option to cancel that debt.
Right.
The penalty for this sin of you saying what you said is you're losing me as a friend. I'll never talk to you again. Never get forgiven. Forgiving that sin is saying, even though you did that, I'm still going to be your friend. We're still going to talk. We're still going to be right. That's what forgiveness is, and I think we're forgetting the essence of what forgiveness is. It is not deserved.
So people don't have to forgive you, basically. That's
No,
what
they
you're saying.
don't.
You should, as a Christian, the reason you forgive is because God
You have been
demonstrated
forgiven.
how you should be forgiving. I forgave you. How dare you not forgive them?
Yeah.
Right.
But expecting everyone to forgive you is not how it works.
if
So
you're not,
now-
if they're not a Christian.
Now,
which
what
this
happens
girl-
if they are a Christian?
Well, then.
Then
They
it's a
need
different
to-
thing. Then it's like, I sinned against you. I'm sorry for that. I don't want you to be hurt by not forgiving me back.
Yeah.
As your brother or sister. I know I'm not the best person to talk to you about this
You'd be
because I'm the
mad
one that
prideful
caused
to
it.
say.
But hopefully somebody else will come into your life and help you
you
realize
understand
that
you
you're
have
hurting
to-
yourself by not forgiving me.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
But
true.
I don't think it's ever, I don't think her chances of being forgiven are completely out of the water
No,
because
no.
you never know if one of their mothers takes ill and it's like, oh
Like
man,
in
I
your
heard.
situation,
Yeah, in my
eventually
situation.
the forgiveness happened.
Yeah, somebody got on Facebook and was like, hey, somebody private messaged me and was like, would you consider forgiving this person and talking to them? And then they private messaged my other friend and said, would you consider forgiving Ryan and talking to him? And we both said yes. And she was like, okay, y'all both said yes. Here's each other's numbers. Call each other.
I like her, whoever she
Yeah.
is. That was nice.
So I guess
For real.
I just want to make sure if you wrong somebody and you have hopefully if you actually did wrong them, you won't have excuses. Like some people, there's a legitimate excuse. I didn't mean to, or blah 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 blah. But if you actually wrong somebody and you know you did,
Take
do not
ownership.
assume that the person like that's not real repentance. And I hope you don't do that with
Yeah.
God. I hope you don't sin and just like, well, God, forgive. You people don't have to.
forgive you. Yeah.
It's a blessing if they do. You should feel relieved if they do, not like finally. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully I don't know. All right, you want to feel? I'm not yelling at you, writer. I promise. It just made me think of my own experience with that judge. Is that I assumed forgiveness and it's not owed to you. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
real.
let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, SEANTANA, DJ Jeremiah. Let go.